everyone, it's Sarah White. You might know me as the author of Rookie in Love, Rookie Playing for Keeps, Touch, Saving Hope, and a few other stories that I've had up on Wattpad. Wattpad and Periscope have asked me to show you where I write. So this is it. This is where I write. Okay, so sorry about that. First time using Periscope. So this is my office. During the day, I am actually a marriage and family therapist. So I get to work here in beautiful California in this quiet little office. But you will hear from time to time some airplanes going over because I'm right next to the airport, which I love and the kids love when they come and see me. I chose this office because I love the outside. There's people out there right now, so I can't really show you for their privacy, but I have this beautiful little stream right here by my office, and I can hear the water going, and when it kind of clears out there a little bit after the hour, I will take you guys outside so you can see what it looks like. So I'm not quite sure exactly what everybody wants to know about me and the space that I write in, but I've kind of been watching some videos, so hopefully I'll answer any questions that you have. This right here, these are my degrees. The reason I share those with you is because they kind of helped provide the backdrop to some of my stories. So normally I don't have my books in my office, but I brought them in today. So with Rookie in Love, you know, it's the story that I wrote for the Harlequin So You Think You Can Write contest and won in 2013. And the background to this was kind of inspired by my stay at UCLA. So, you know, at the end of the summer, my mom had drove me out there so we could find a little apartment for me to stay in, and it was quiet. There weren't a lot of kids around. And so we found this perfect apartment not very far off of campus. I could just walk back and forth to school. And my mom and I kind of wondered, you know, how was it still available? And we found out the week that I moved in that it's because I was smashed right in the middle of Fraternity Row. So I had frat houses on both sides and in the back, which I discovered hearing girls scream as they're being thrown into the pool around 1 or 2 in the morning, even during weeknights. So when the Harlequin contest wanted a young heroine, somebody between like 18 and 21, kind of figuring out life, that's what kind of popped up in my head, was that experience of, you know, walking around campus at night and on the weekends and, you know, seeing the frat houses and the guys on the lawns in their chairs and just hanging out. And, you know, I really thought it was kind of a unique perspective to get to be right there with everybody. So as I furthered a little along in my experience at UCLA, I worked, I was a psychology major, so I worked at some of the psych labs on campus with PhD students who were working on their dissertations or their thesis, whatever they were studying for at the time. And so I was able to kind of see what it would be like to be a part of that, which is where the idea for Touch came in. So I love this story, and it's been self-published, and the backdrop is, of course, about a therapist who is working on his dissertation, and that's kind of where I got the idea. So I guess to show you more about, you know, where I get some ideas to write, this is my bookshelf. Everybody was showing bookshelves. Mine's actually all therapy related. So I've got, you know, the games that taught for the kids, and, you know, some of the kids' books. I love Jamie Lee Curtis books for kids. I think she is amazing. So this one is actually my favorite. I use it as a metaphor for death. I don't know if that's what she intended it for, but I think it's a great, great story that kind of helps kids realize they can let things go, but doesn't mean they're gone forever. Let's see. So here's my bookshelf. I do a lot of marriage therapy, so there's a lot of marriage therapy books in the middle. John Gottman, highly recommend. And then as far as for what I like to read, I read like crazy. So the best advice that I was ever given was read, 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 and not necessarily in your genre. So make sure that you're reading everything so you can understand what other authors are doing. So I brought in some of my favorite books to share with you, kind of the people that inspired me. So when we're talking things to read for fun, I'm sorry, it is so shaky. I can't quite seem to get it to not shake everywhere. I love John Green. So he is by far my favorite author. I have read everything he's written. As far as my favorite book of his, it would be a very, very hard decision between, looking for Alaska and not Paper Towns, The Fault in Our Stars. So those are my top two. I have these in paperback. The other ones I've read on my e-readers, so I don't have their copies. I also love Rainbow Rowell. So this is Landline. I have it in print form for my book club, but I have read all of her stories as well, and Attachments is by far my favorite. So what I like about both of them is the way that they can kind of tap in with their dialogue, and I feel like you're friends with the characters. So I love it. I think she's awesome. I don't even have to say much about John Green. Everybody knows him. He's amazing. So then when it comes to my genre specifically, these are my favorites. So I have got the privilege of meeting these ladies at some of their signings, and I have to say that they have all been very gracious and very kind and wonderful and welcoming. So Colleen Hoover, she's amazing. I've read everything that she's written, and I'm looking forward to her latest book coming out, I believe, in November. And Abby Glines. So I highly recommend her when I want people to get addicted to new adult and have a little fun. She's the go-to lady. So I always joke around with my friends that the first hit's free. So if I give you an Abby Glines book, you're going to be addicted. But you can't have my copies because I make her sign them. So then also Jamie McGuire, and she is probably by far one of the kindest authors that I've ever interacted with. I love her to pieces, and I've read all of her stuff as well, and I read it the day that it comes out, of course. This book I read on a flight to Florida, and it made a 5-hour flight go by in like no time at all. So she is great, and I definitely follow her everywhere and think she's amazing. So I would recommend any of them. Other people that have kind of inspired me in this genre that I write in would be Kendall Ryan. I think she's great. I love reading all of her stuff. Let's see, tons of people. Christina Loren, I think that they're great. Off the top of my head, it's kind of hard to think of them, but I can show you some. So the other book I have, though, that I want to give a nice little shout out to is Jo Watson's Burning Moon. She was one of the contestants in the So You Think You Can Write contest, and we've met that way since we both won the same year. And I finally was able to get a hold of her book. The Harlequin copies are a little hard to get a hold of, some of you might have realized. So I got it, and I laughed through the whole thing. She is amazing. And I actually made the mistake of watching her video before I did this one, and it made a very high bar to set. She was funny and entertaining, and I loved her accent and all the bright colors. So check her video out too. She did one for Where I Write. So some of the other authors that I write, I tried this a little earlier, kind of tested it out, and I think you might be better with the lights off seeing my Kindle, or you may not get to see my Kindle at all. So we'll just kind of see. As far as it goes, I think a rough estimate would be about 100 books a year. So I read constantly. I read my genre, other genres. I have some of them aren't coming through as read on here, even though I read them on my phone too. So I would recommend to anybody trying to write that you read, know what's going on in the genre that you're writing in, as well as kind of all of them. You get ideas from everywhere. Some of them, right now are really crossing over. The new adult was kind of a crossover from, women's literature and young adult, and I love it, and I hope it stays around. But basically, I read, and it always helps the authors if you give reviews. So these are just kind of my stories. I don't typically read on my Kindle. I usually read on my phone. And now kind of to when I write. So I write in between clients. I write at lunch. I write at home. Those of you that follow me on social media and Wattpad have seen that I kind of write in my living room. There's some pictures of me there, a video of me there. I like to just have my computer and some music. I can't write when it's completely quiet. I get a little too distracted by nothingness. So I was going to show you some of my music. I don't think I'm allowed to play it, but I will kind of show you who I'm into. When I'm writing, I usually prefer singer-songwriters, so I don't want too much going on. I love just people and their guitars. So on my list, if I can kind of get it in here for you, You'll see a lot of Almond Brown, Amos Lee. I have some country people on there. I love country music. Ed Sheeran, he is on all the time when I'm writing. So if I had to pick one entertainer that I could listen to all the time, it would be him. I've been to 2 of his concerts and I love him. So he is on. He writes some great romantic songs and some fun songs. So usually I just have my headphones on when I'm writing to block out the noise around me, but to keep music flowing and some creativity going. Eric Church, I love him. Florida Georgia Line. Holly Williams, who's actually, I believe, Hank Williams' granddaughter, which is kind of cool. James Bay, he's a new one that I've kind of found, and I'm looking forward to all of his new releases. So that's kind of the idea. I use Word to write. I write on a Mac. I write at my desk, and I guess that's kind of it. This is where I spend my day when I'm not at home. And there's no one out there right now. So I'm going to peek out there and show you guys my favorite part of this office before we have to go. And if somebody comes out, I'm going to have to jump right back in. But here we go. So this is right outside my office. And it's all open to the beautiful California weather. And this is why I choose to write here. So I hope that everyone has enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Bye.